Hi, I'm Wade from Thoroughbred Diesel, and today we're going to be installing a Category 2 48RE transmission from Suncoast into our 2005 Dodge Ram. All right, we want to try to give you just a general scope of what we've been doing with this truck. So this truck is owned by Adam who runs the camera for us and does all of our social media and marketing here at Thoroughbred Diesel. This is his personal vehicle. It's 2005 Dodge 2500. Adam came in one morning, didn't have reverse. We reached out to the guys at Suncoast because we've been wanting to do a 48, 47 transmission installation video. They hooked us up, got us a transmission going, sent it down for us. They sent us a Category 2, which is going to be a 48RE with a billet input shaft, full built from Suncoast with all of the upgrades in it, save for it doesn't have a billet intermediate shaft or billet output shaft, just a billet input shaft. Sent us a new converter with billet cover on it. Everything we needed to get this truck back up and running for Adam. So big shout out to the guys at Suncoast for getting us a transmission together on short notice and getting it down to us. They really did a great job on that. So, you know, that talks just a little bit about the failure, what we've done here. We decided that with this, it's going to give us an opportunity to bring you a couple of different videos. There's so many different weak points inside of here that we've tried to address and fix inside of this video series. We have done a separate video on just how to remove a 48RE transmission. We'll link you to that in this video as well. We have done a flex plate installation, which is another very big weak point in the automatic transmission Dodge trucks. We've got an installation video for that, which is just a quick and easy one, but it talks about that. And now this is actually our installation of our 48RE, how to properly install it. And what I'm also going to touch on in here is kind of how to pack up your core and get it ready to be sent to Suncoast or any of the transmission manufacturers that we carry, how to properly get your core ready for shipment and ready to go. So what we're going to do first off is we're going to take you over here to the transmission and we're going to show you rolling over the components to the new transmission, what you've got to do inside of that process. And then we will be putting the transmission underneath the truck and be getting ready to show you how to flush out the transmission lines, how to properly install the transmission, and then we'll be taking you for a ride along with our test drive. So let's go ahead and get started with moving our components off of our old transmission. All right, we're going to go ahead and start rolling components over into our new transmission, or just removing them. First thing we're going to start with is our electronic throttle valve here. Just go ahead and unbolt it. We're going to remove it. I don't put it back on my new transmission until I'm actually really ready for it. It's just an electrical component. I hate for it to get banged around. So when I take them off the old transmission, I just try to not put them on until I absolutely have to. Just pull straight up on it, 2 bolts outside, and they'll pop right off there. A little bit old, so sometimes they don't come off quite as easily as you would like. Next, I'll take off my fluid fittings. We've got 2 fluid fittings, your supply and return. We're going to go ahead and remove those. Those need to be put into your new transmission. And of course, I hit my hand there, so now I'm bleeding. It's merely a flesh wound. All right, next we're going to take our shift lever off. The shift lever can get a little tricky. What I like to do, loosen it up, and I'll take a pry bar here between the two levers and just kind of loosen it there, and then take your screwdriver pry bar right underneath of it, back and forth. There's a seal underneath of there. If you were reinstalling this transmission and you're just taking this lever off, just be aware of that seal. That only goes on one way. Guys ask about that all the time. There's a flat spot in there that can only go back on one way. Next is going to be our range sensor here. And it's a T20, I think this is Torx. It's spring loaded, so watch it when it comes out of there. No ball bearings or anything that you're gonna lose, but still pops right on out. See that? Now I think we're down to just the sensor now. I use a 1" on this. Just go ahead and it's back here in the tail shaft housing. Kind of hard to see it from that angle, but there's that. All right, and kids, I think that is it. We are good to go there. Any plugs that you run into, you just roll those back over into your core and send those back with you. That's just one other thing that you that's just, you know, just good. You want to drain your core as best you can. In our removal video, we showed you how to drop the pan, let the transmission drain real good. You can turn this up on its nose if you want to, put it in a pan, catch a fluid. You want to make sure that you get as much fluid out of these transmissions as you can. You can run into a situation with your shipping company. If you leave fluid in it, it sloshes out in the box, you have a leak, they won't accept the shipment, it goes back to you. The shipping at that point is on you to get it back to Suncoast or whatever the situation is. Torque converter, always drain the torque converter as well. Turn the torque converter over in a pan, let it collect, let it sit there a couple of days and drain out is the way to do it. Same way with transmission, drain it, you know, let it sit for a day or two and drain really, really well. You just don't want any of the fluid going into your case, and that'll make it really, really nice for the guys when they catch your core, so they will appreciate that. Now we'll just put all those components back on. Nothing tricky there at all. Like we were talking about, it only goes one way. Your throttle solenoid here, it's got a flat spot on it. It can only go on this shaft one way. You'll want to put thread tape on your fluid fittings. Then there's a flat spot inside of the shift tower there, so you'll want to make sure that you get the flat spot on it before you install it, just like that, and then push it all the way down. And I'll just leave that right there because it just went so daggone nicely. And yeah, that's it. We're just rolling components over right now. They put a plug inside, or, I'm sorry, there's not a plug inside that hole this time for your range sensor, so just go ahead and push that in and you're good to go. So yep, that's what we'll do. We'll go through here and we'll get everything on, and we'll be right back with you and show you putting her up on a jack. All right, guys, we had some sound difficulties when we were doing this portion of the video, and this portion of the video is basically me telling you about cleaning out your cooler lines before you reinstall your new transmission. So let's talk about that just a little bit. So you're going to have a certain amount of old transmission fluid that's going to be caught in the transmission cooler. You know, with the 5.9 and 6.7 Dodges, you've got a heat exchanger involved there as well, so another place for old fluid to collect. So in this shot, what I'm doing is I'm gently using compressed air to clean the
to clean the cooler lines out with. Now, the proper way to do this at a professional shop is with them using what's called a hot flush machine, and that's going to get you full cleaning of the lines and just basically lets you have a completely clean system ready to go. You guys that are doing this in your driveway, it's very important for you, even though you don't have a hot flush machine, to make sure that you get these cooler lines and the cooler cleaned out here. So what we're doing is we're just evacuating some of that with compressed air, very gently, very light air burst here that we're using. You can see Adam's getting ready to collect a good amount that came out before we reinstalled his transmission here. Quite a bit coming out there, so you can see the darkness of that fluid in the video. That contaminated fluid right there, that can wipe out a brand new transmission, and you know, don't want these situations for your new product. That could be a situation where that type of fluid is introduced into a new transmission. It could be a warranty void situation. We don't want that for you, so that's why this is so important to clean this fluid out. As well as at aftermarket part stores, you can get a can of compressed air with a chemical flush as well, and that's what we're getting ready to talk about in this next clip here. We'll go to a chemical flush here. We're going to cut this shot and then start to another shot, but the chemical flush is going to be very important as well, because that is going to clean the lines chemically, make sure that all of that old fluid is gone, and we've cut back in here. The old fluid is out, and we'll have the chemical that goes into that flushed and make sure that everything is clean, good to go. You can pick that up at any part store locally to you. So that's just what this clip is about for us, is just telling you how important it is for you to evacuate the old fluid from your cooler lines, your trans cooler, and your heat exchanger if the vehicle has one.
All right, so we have our transmission on our transmission jack. Really nothing to see there. One thing I do want to talk about on that is I don't put my throttle valve on, or my governor, body there. Golly, I can't talk today. On the transmission going back up, it's just easier. I don't have to worry about it being in the way or anything like that. It's just one electrical component I have to worry about. So we've got our lines flushed out. We're pretty well ready for the transmission to go back in, except for putting the torque converter on. Now, torque converter, this is a billet cover 3-disc from Suncoast that they sent us for this application, for daily driving application. This is going to be, well, talk about this for 1 second. We're going to fill our converter. We're going to put a couple of quarts of ATF in here before we put it on the transmission. I'll talk to you just something that makes handling torque converter a lot easier. Said this in our removal video. I like to take, you're going to get new grade 8 bolts that are going to come with your torque converter. You can't really see them there. You're going to get new grade 8 bolts with that. So what I like to do is I like to take a couple of my old torque converter bolts, and I just make myself a little set of T-handles there. And that'll help you to be able to maneuver the converter. Weld those on top of the T-handle, and you've got a really nice and easy way to handle a converter. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to throw a couple of quarts of fluid in this converter before we put it up. This is Suncoast's ATF. Don't spill it like I did. And as you're filling, it's going to be soaking the clutches and just filling the converter. So take your time with it. Let her go down there. The air bubbles coming out, so. Like I said, probably threw 2 quarts in there. I'll let that go ahead and soak into the converter, and then we'll be ready to put it up. We're gonna go ahead and slap our torque converter on. So we showed you the T-handles there. Just go ahead and screw them into where one of your torque converter bolts goes. Of course, my welds aren't straight, so just take your time, throw them in there. Got a couple quarts of fluid in this converter, so that just keeps us from having dry start. It's easier with two guys, it really truly is, to throw this on here. One guy can do it, but two guys, it's kind of easy just to get it up on the snout of the transmission so you don't have quite as much leakage. So here we go. Okay, now here's the beauty of the T-handles. Okay, and there it went right there. With the T-handles, what you can actually do with the converter is you're actually able to work it, and I don't know if you heard that converter when it went down there and it met, you heard a pretty distinct thud. In fact, I'll pull it off here. When it goes back, you can hear it hit solid. That means the torque converter is all the way back. So spin it a couple times just to make sure. Go back just a little, another notch there, and there you are. That's it. The T-handles make that job so much easier. We just want to talk about a couple different things before we finally go up with this transmission. One thing we wanted to make mention of is this double deep trans pan on the category 2 transmissions. This does not come on the transmissions. This was something that we added to. Adam wanted this on his truck. It's a great addition. We definitely suggest you all use those. I wanted to talk about the grommet for the dipstick, for your trans dipstick. Make sure that that grommet is in there. Make sure that it does have a plug in it and it is clean and you've got a direct line to fill your transmission. That's really important to do that. Again, I want to make mention, no throttle valve on here. I just left it off, just makes it easier. And we are ready to go. Now, with the bell housing bolts on this, you've got two that hold this wiring harness, and then we've got if you're going to use your exhaust hanger back, which is this, you guys have done this before, you know this is a piece of crap. We don't use it, we cut it off there, so that's not going back on, don't have to worry about that. And then we have the transmission, or I'm sorry, the transfer case fill or vent line actually goes up and it attaches right here and then goes back to your transfer case, so don't forget to put that up. So all we're doing now is we're going to go up and we're going to get the bell housing mated with the engine. So taking her up. Oh, one thing, sorry Adam, one thing. Always check to make sure that your alignment dowels are in your are in this plate. You want to make sure those alignment dowels are there. If the alignment dowels came out with your old transmission, make sure that you go to the old transmission, get that alignment dowel out and have it ready to go. So now let's go up. I'm definitely close now, so we're in the home stretch of getting the transmission in. What I try to do is try to get everything as aligned as I possibly can before I close the gap. And I'm looking to get this transmission set on these dowels first, so I'm gonna come ahead and go forward there. I need to go up just a, yeah, you're fine. Up just a fuzz. Okay, now what's the torque converter? So we're home. We've just got to turn it to where it falls on the dowels. And just about right there. What I like to do here, I'm not drawing this up with these bolts. I'm simply putting the bolts in just as placeholders, for lack of a better word. Put a couple in here on this side. Leave them out long enough that I can work on both sides here. When you come over to this side, you want to make sure that you don't have your wiring harnesses in a pinch. I'll show you that. Oh, sorry, Adam. Adam and I are do-si-doing around this transmission jack. Here's the light. So watch, make sure that you don't get that plate caught there. You don't have it pinched. So I can kind of tell by my gap here. I'm gonna borrow the camera from you, Adam, and I'll show them. Yeah. So you can, yeah, I think I got it. So you can kind of tell by my gap between the transmission and the bell housing there. So I still got a little bit of a gap, no gap at the top, and then no gap at the bottom. So that means I just need to bring the tail shaft up just a fuzz and we will be there. So really at this time, what we're doing is we're just fighting 1/4 of an inch at a time. If this goes up and you feel like it went all the way up and it just will not close the gap, that's a really, really, really good sign that you don't have your torque converter seated down correctly or all the way. So you want to double check your work there. So yeah, that's what we're doing here. We're just working just a little bit at a time, get the transmission on those dials, get it pushed up and get it leveled up correctly. So we'll get all of our bolts in, make sure that we get our wiring harness on these 2 spots on the top right here. Then they'll get the bolts, and then we get our transfer case vent. We'll go on the other side on the top bolt and we'll get it in too. Here's the rules. Seam has to be closed, just like this. If you tighten these 2 bolts down, the bolts where your guide pins are, if you go to tighten them down and that gets rough and it doesn't close up, again, like I said, torque converter is not seated all the way back. You got to pull it down and redo it. Don't pull this together with the bolts. If you've got this installed correctly, you should get it to within 1/4 of an inch of a gap just by yourself, okay? And then you can finish it up with the bolts, bring it up just a little bit. And next, once you get a bolt in there and you get your gap closed, you want to take your torque converter, put your hand on it, make sure the torque converter turns. If the torque converter doesn't turn, you've got another problem. You don't have it seated correctly. So with this gap closed, torque converter should be freely spinning. So now it's time to put our transfer case up. What we do here is you want to try to have 2 guys for this. If you big dudes that want to wrestle this by yourself, that's fine. You're doing it on your back, whatever. I suggest to have another person here, just in case you get in trouble, because you never know when you're gonna pull a hammy. So what we're gonna do is go hang this transfer case. What I'm trying to accomplish here is I'm trying to work and try to get to the nuts and bolts and things that are hard to get to with the cross member in. There's a bottom nut on this transfer case. I want to hang this, tighten that nut up on the transfer case, and really at that point then I'm to a position to where I want to go ahead and put my cross member in, get my jack out. So we're working to get the jack out as fast as we can because it's just so much easier to work underneath of here. There's a lot of times I'll skip other stuff like the dipstick, we were talking about that. Sometimes I don't put the dipstick until the very last thing when everything's out of here or whatever, but yeah. So you do it however you want to do it. This is the easiest way for us. So we're gonna go ahead and hang the transfer case. Again, 2 people makes this really, really nice. Nope. Okay, yep. All right, that's it. Hold on to it just a second. There it is. Have a couple of nuts handy. And there we go. We'll tighten those down. There's 6 nuts in total around here. We're gonna put all the nuts on, gonna tighten everything up. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to show you the bottom nut on this transfer case. It's so daggone hard to get to. It's that right there. Your transmission, called Isolator, mounting bracket is right there. You can't hardly get to that thing with your wrench to tighten it down. So we just like to do this while everything is opened up and we can get to that nut. All right, guys, next what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and do this drive shaft while the cross member is out. So, or at least get a couple of bolts hung in it anyway. And that'll work right there. But don't do like I did and forget to Loctite your bolts. We suggest Loctiting all your drive shaft bolts. Give you a couple there. All right. We got our phase mark. So just gotta find that on here. Finally. All right, so we're just gonna go ahead and get our other 3 bolts in and then tighten up our front drive shaft here. Next, we're gonna be putting our isolator bracket onto our bottom of our transmission here. You wanna try to use a little bit of Loctite. Don't pull a big chunk out on the floor like I just did on these, because this will vibrate loose on you. You'll have a rattle. Easy to get that up there, 4 bolts. Remember we took it out and it's stepped. It's got a high side and a low side. Transmission same way, high side, low side. So put your bolts in. They'll be painted, so it's not gonna be the easiest bolts to get in. Don't get excited, just don't cross thread them. You got 2 here that are easier to do with the socket. 16 metrics. Sorry about the interlude there, kids. Yeah. Boy, now we're back. Yeah, that's it. Alrighty, there's our transmission isolator bracket up and ready to go. We got our front drive shaft in, and we get our cross member up. We can pull the jack out. Time to put our cross member in. So here we go. So you'll notice on these you'll have a short side and a long side. It can only go up one way because there's only one way for the isolator to go. So try not to drop it. What I'll do is I'll start it on the back side of these recesses for this. They're just a little bit wider than it is out the front. So what I'll do is I'll start it like that, kind of get it in position where it clears back here. And then once it clears, what I'll do is I'll take my BFH and make sure I'm clearing back here. And that's it. And it kind of just works till it slides in. Once it does that, take a bolt. All right. And having Adam around is nice because I've got my prize bar guy. Let me hand you a bolt, Adam. And I'm gonna pry it your way. And either one, doesn't matter. Whatever you catch first. Yep, whatever you catch. Okay. Tell me when you're ready.
Ready.
Coming your way. Go ahead. You want the jack up just a fuzz. Yep. Okay. Now hit it.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Your way, just a switch.
My way?
Yep.
The only way we can go my way is if we do this.
Come on.
Turn your bolt around. Bolt goes the other way, yep. That's it. Now you got it. Now you got it. Oh, don't do that. That's it. All right, what do you need?
Oh yeah, okay.
You want a hammer?
Well, I want my watch to stop going off. Hang on, hang on. I had it on the bottom.
Yeah.
It moved. It's gonna have to get fried again a little bit.
Okay. What do you need?
Just that way.
Okay. What's your face?
A little bit more.
Too much. Got it? Hand me one. And then that's it. Once you have 2 bolts in, you're safe. At this point, we'll work to get our other bolts in, so 4 in total. Nuts go to the back, and then there are 2 15 metric bolts that go right here on the transmission isolator. We'll put them back in as well. Okay, so we've got our jack out now, and we got our front drive shaft in, transfer cases on, cross members in. So now we're to a point where we're going to go ahead and start working on the torque converter bolts. If you watch our removal video on the 48RE, we explained to you how this front access, these 2 access holes on the front of the front of the housing here. The smaller hole is for your barring tool. The barring tool can be used to turn the motor over. It just goes in that hole right there, and then a 3/8 inch drive ratchet. What that'll do is that turns the engine over. If you don't have a barring tool, you can put a wrench on the harmonic balancer, turn it over in the same. And what you're wanting to do is so you can use your finger to find it. You have a hole in the flex plate, okay? And what you can do there is that hole in your flex plate, the bolt hole that's in the flex plate, you turn the torque converter, leave your access plate off on the torque converter, you turn the torque converter, and I just leave my finger kind of in there, go to the first hole and meet them up, and I'm ready for my bolt. I use little mid-depth sockets on these and put a little bit of Loctite on the bolt. Kind of helps me to get the bolt started. Didn't take. Go ahead and start this one because I need to get that one done. So my first bolt here, I'm gonna go ahead and get it started. All right, and what I do is I leave it loose. Now, leave it loose to where I can shake the torque converter back and forth. Now, take my ratchet, my barring tool. I know that by my flex plate, I've got to skip a hole before I get to the next hole in the keep wanting to say transfer case. Next hole in the flex plate. So here comes one there, and that one won't accept a bolt. I'm going to check it just to make sure. Because our torque converter, the Suncoast torque converter, is a 6-bolt torque converter. Yep. No hole there. All right, so now we're just going to the next one. To our next hole in the flex plate. There it is. All right. So we'll put a little Loctite on it. Just a little bit. Then we will go ahead and start our next bolt if it doesn't want to start correctly. That's why you leave your other bolt loose. And then you can shake the converter back and forth until you get the bolt started. Right, and you leave them loose. They come around, they're not going to contact the, you know, just this finger, not even finger tight. Loose enough to where you can still shake the converter. Just like that. So there's 2. We got 4 more to go. You just repeat the process the same way. All right, now we've got all of our torque converter bolts in. We've got our torque converter drawn up. Everything's turning smoothly. If everything is not turning smoothly when you put your last torque converter bolt in, you've got something going on there. Either you left one loose and it's dragging on the back cover or something of that nature. Just make sure that you've got all your bolts snug down as you're turning through, so you don't have to worry about that. So now we're at a point where we just go ahead and torque down our torque converter bolts. 35 foot-pounds is going to be your torque spec. So we are going to go ahead and torque down all 6 of our torque converter bolts. You may have to hold the motor as well. So we'll go ahead and torque those down. And then what you want to make sure that you do is, if you use the barring tool, make sure you pull your barring tool out once you're done. All right, once you've got your torque converter bolts torqued down, you want to just go ahead and, if you got a barring tool, again, don't forget to take your barring tool out. Your little inspection plate door here, if you can see that, just go ahead and prop it back up and tighten it down, and then we will put the inspection cover back on here as well. This is going to go back up now. All right, we're going to go ahead and put our transfer case skid plate up. Let's go ahead and get it where it's supposed to live. Here's a bolt tab. Go ahead, did I pull it out away from you?
Yeah, I had a hold of it, except you just teased me with it. It's all right, so while we're working on this transfer case skid plate, what we really want to do at this point is we want to walk through all of our bolts and nuts and everything we've done up to this point, because you're getting into the short rows here. You want to walk through everything and just hit it with a wrench one time. Make sure that you've tightened everything up and you have not forgotten anything. This is just a good time to do it right before you do your rear drive shaft. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and put our rear drive shaft in. What you want to do is you want to have your rear drive shaft bolts, take those and clean them up with a whiz wheel, get the old Loctite out of them, apply new Loctite. And when I get ready with my drive shaft, I like to have another person to help me, because what I want to do is I want to get phase where our phase marks are, and then let my guy on the front go ahead and stab it into the transfer case. So here we go. Hold on just a second, Adam. Yep. All right, go ahead and stab it right there. I kind of don't want him to go.
Here, hold on just a second. Need to go back. Yeah, that's it.
You really need the dog if you got to wait on the paycheck too.
All right.
You got you? You good?
Yeah, that's another thing about, nice thing about having somebody help you when you're doing rear drive shaft, is because you don't have to worry about jacking up tires and moving this, that, and the other. So we'll get our 4 bolts in and get them tightened down, and we're going to move on to wiring. All right, so I'm going to walk through wiring with you guys. So first thing I like to do is I like to take the top driver's side bolt off of the transfer, or nut off the transfer case, and then you've got a
wire holder that goes there. So we'll go ahead and move that onto that stud and then put our nut back. I'm gonna move my arm there and let you have a glance at that. So there's that. Then I just start hitting connectors. First one I'll do is the speed connector here. All right, on this truck, the next one will be the transfer case actuator. No lock on that one. All right, and then the other actuator connector is here. There is a lock on this one. So what we'll do is push it in and then slide our lock up. Okay. Next is going to be our main connector at the transmission, which is on the very top here. And unfortunately, it only goes one way, so you kind of got to dance around there with the connector till it wants to go, and then make sure that it clips. Okay. Your next one is going to be your position sensor right there. And I don't know why that lock doesn't want to go down. I'll fight that lock in just a second. Okay, and then the last one we have here is going to be our connector for our throttle valve. So we're going to leave it loose and then we'll get our throttle valve there. So that's going to take care of all of our electrical, and we'll bring you back and do the throttle valve. All right, so your throttle assembly here, your governor assembly, it's got a flat side in that recess, so it can only go on the shaft one way. So you kind of line that up with your eyes there. And what we're going to do is bring this electrical portion around. Okay. So once it engages there, you want to make sure that your bolt holes line up, and they do. So now what you're going to do is you're going to put your electrical connector on. All right, slide the lock up and rotate your throttle valve to the body of the transmission, and voila. Put your bolt in, and then put your second bolt on the inside here. And then all you gotta do is tighten them down. I know that the camera light in here is bad, but went back through and make sure that you come back and you tighten up this nut on your transfer case. You need to pop this retainer out, the plastic push pin, move it out, and then pop it out, and then put your new one in. And that's it for electrical connectors for us. Again, just make sure you go back through all of your bolts and tighten it. And we're to lines now. The throttle assembly there, it's all good to go. So we're to lines. I don't know if I talked about this in our teardown video, but something that makes these lines really, really nice is you guys that have the 3/4 inch injection line wrench. Really, really nice to get in there to tighten them down. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and get our lines tightened up, and then we're ready to set it on the ground, put some fluid in it. All right, once we've got our wiring completed, next I like to go ahead and put my transfer case line on the transfer case breather, or the breather line on the transfer case, however you want to say it, and then just slide our clip down. All right, last thing we do after we get all of our bell housing bolts in, and I'll walk you around that, is we're going to go ahead and put our transmission dipstick in. So pull the gauge itself out. What I like to do is put your finger down inside of your new transmission and just lift up. There's a grommet there for it. Take the grommet and put it on your tube, your dipstick tube, and what that's going to do is that's going to keep you from pushing the transmission, or pushing it the wrong way and shoving it into the transmission. So get her up there in position, And then it's just a few choice words. Actually, yeah, a little bit of transmission fluid from my hands there. And there we go, got her engaged. Just keep pushing till you get it down. So that's just to keep working with it thing. So you'll want to bring it on down until it engages fully. So. All right, before we start feeling, what I like to do is I like to actually get in the truck and work through the levers and just make sure all of my ranges show up. And I want to physically feel the detents here when I'm doing it, and I'm watching it, but I'm feeling too, to actually feel the detents in there. All right. And I just keep going through them just to make sure that I've got physical engagement of every detent inside that transmission there, and everything feels good. All right, so we're ready to start feeling trans. All right, so before I do anything else, I'm going to go ahead and fill the transmission. I'm gonna go ahead and put 12 quarts in it and then start it and check it, see where we're at. Normal pan, you've got, or with the normal pan, the transmission, a full rebuild, you're like 16, 17 quarts. So this has got a double deep mag Hytec pan on there, so it's another 3 or 4 quarts in there. So expecting to wind up in that range, that 20, 22 quart range, maybe with the new converter and whatnot. So we'll let you know what our final number was. Every truck's gonna be different, so don't take our final number, just throw that amount in there. I've got 8 quarts in it now. I put 4 in it before we came up. I put another 4 in there while I was waiting on Adam to come out. So this was gonna be my 12th quart. The pan itself, the double deep pan right now, you'll be sitting about 9 quarts. So this will get into the side of the trans itself. So we're gonna start with 12 quarts and then show you the procedure to start it and check it. So 12 quarts inside the truck. What you really need is you need somebody to help you here. You need somebody to be inside the truck so you can tell them when to start it, when to stop it. That's Chris. You got to watch that guy. All right, so first off, what you got to do is you want to be in neutral. You check a Dodge transmission fluid level in neutral because the pump's running in neutral. So we're going to drop the truck in neutral. Chris is going to go ahead and start it. This is with our initial 12 quarts in here, so we know we're safe. Go ahead and start it, Chris. We're gonna let the truck run for just a second. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the stick out. At 12 quarts on the low side, it's off the stick. So we know we've got some adding to do. All right, Chris, shut it off. I don't like to let it run very much. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go for the 16 quarts. I know it needs to be on the rebuild for a full rebuild without the deep pan and without the bigger converter. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw another 4 quarts in now. For 16, we've got 16 quarts in. So here's what I do now at this point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have my assistant, we're going to start the truck in neutral, again with the pump running, and he's going to run through the gears. He's going to go reverse, park, reverse, neutral, drive, 2, 1, and ending back at neutral. When he gets to neutral, he's going to give me a signal. I'm going to check the fluid level. What we want to do is we want to make sure that the truck is actually going to try to pull itself in those gears, make sure we don't hear any funny noises, any kind of hoodooey stuff like that. So, you know, we're getting close. All right, go ahead, Chris. Reverse. All right, park. All right, back down, reverse, neutral, drive, 2, 1, back up, 2, drive, neutral. Neutral. There we go. All right, we're just gonna leave it there. Now we're gonna check fluid. Watch your dipstick as well when you're doing this. If you don't have your dipstick tube aligned correctly, you're going to have, when you go to put your dipstick in, it'll pop out. If it tries to pop out, it's not right. You want it all the way in and flush. So We're still off the stick. Your side that doesn't show anything is your working side. Check it one more time. Yep, that's it. We're just barely on the stick there. Okay, shut it off, Chris. At this point, at 16 quarts, I'm gonna go 2 quarts at a time now. So I'm gonna throw 2 quarts in it and we're gonna do it again. We're back from our test drive with our 48RE and Adam's truck. Everything is flawless. Shifts are great. We wound up at about 22 quarts with this transmission. So this was 48RE triple disc converter, and we put a double deep mag Hytec pan on it. Wound up being right at 22 quarts is what it took to fill it. We really just can't say enough good about this. The guys at Suncoast did an awesome job getting the transmission together for us on short notice to get Adam's truck back up and running, got it down here. Our ride shifts were good. We had good positive lockup when called for. The downshifts were really good. So that's what we look for. Transmission temperature stayed really in range there. So everything really good. That's what you want to look for. If you take your truck out and you do a transmission swap and you've got any flare shifting where the truck actually it's going to shift and the RPMs jump up, if you get a flare, that's a bad thing. Truck won't downshift. Overheats, anything like that. You could have a restriction, you could have something going on in the build or whatever it is. So, you know, your test drive is really gonna be one of the most crucial things that you do for the installation of your transmission. So, from us here at Thoroughbred Diesel, big thank you to Suncoast for getting us the transmission, personal level. Adam, thank you. A big thank you from Adam to the guys at Suncoast. Can't talk. Big thank you to the guys at Suncoast for getting him a transmission, getting it in his truck, and he's back up and running now. So, if you have a question about Suncoast transmissions or any of our other Suncoast products, please give us a call, like and subscribe to our channel, and as always, we appreciate you watching our videos. Thank you.